I felt like it was a really good idea because I think it's important that students have strong reading skills, and that applies in the job fields as well. So especially because we have such specific terminology in the industries, it's good for the kids to know that, and it's a good way to incorporate that and show them what it could mean in real world situations. I want to make the best use of class time, as all teachers do, but I want to keep it as real world as possible because we want to give kids job skills. So where in a traditional classroom you can do more reading and writing, and that applies to the classroom, on the job that's not something that you do as often. So I wanted to keep it as real world, but still have the kids able to learn from it and understand that even though it's not something they would necessarily do on the job, it's going to help them in the future. We designed a page layout for a magazine article, and it has the title page, the graphics, and all those things. Preview, Analyze, Connect teaches you to look at those things before you read an article to get the most information out of it that you can. So for me, teaching graphic design, Preview, Analyze, Connect is the one that makes the most sense because we can look at it from a design perspective, but we can also look at it from the reader's perspective as to what information are people getting just from the title, just from the headings, just from the images that they're seeing before they even start reading an article. So that one works for us. Being in the industry for so long, I take for granted that I know some of the terminology in this industry that students may not actually understand. So a word that means something to them in every day means something different in our industry. So just looking at different terminology and looking at that from an industry-specific terminology was probably the biggest thing for me. I did one that was on a topic of visual literacy, which again was a key thing for me teaching graphics. Visual literacy is more about when you see things in advertising, what does that say to you, as opposed to, when you're reading something, how do you interpret it? So it was neat for the students to look at it from the perspective of the consumer, but then to look at it from the perspective of a designer, because as a consumer, you're looking at things thinking, oh, that's cool, I want to buy it. But as a designer, you're trying to pick those images that make the consumer want to buy it. So it was a neat realization and a good lesson overall for my kids. Coming out of industry, working as a graphic designer, and then becoming a teacher, I'm used to working in my software programs and doing that. That's my comfort zone. So going into more traditional aspects of teaching is stepping outside my comfort zone a little bit. And a lot of times I was learning things along with the students, which is good in my opinion because it teaches them that it's okay to not know something and to continue and be a lifelong learner, and that it's never too late to learn something new. We read journal reports or industry-related articles because I feel like being an industry that's so affected by technology, it's changing all the time. So there's oftentimes new things happening in our industry that I don't even know about. So I want the kids to be reading the newest, most current things, and then I can learn that right along with them, which is exciting. So I feel like that was the best way. Then they share out what they've learned. So we all get to learn what each of us have read in our different articles. And then also with the visual literacy and learning how what we do as designers affects people when they're looking at magazines or advertisements or purchasing things as consumers. I think to work by myself all the time is just, I get only that point of view. So again, because I came out of industry and had worked as a graphic designer before, it's helpful for me to work with the language arts people because obviously that's their specialty. And so whenever you can work with someone who that is their area of expertise, that's obviously the best way to go in my opinion. So that was great to bring them in and collaborate so that we could say, all right, this is what our industry is about, and this is what our goal is with literacy, and then kind of mesh those two together. And then it was also neat to see how other career teachers were incorporating that into their lessons, because since we all tend to be more hands-on and focus on employability skills, it helped give us some more applicable applicable ways to incorporate it into our classrooms. Certification tests have a lot of really big words, and the way that they ask questions can be sort of tricky. Not that they're trying to trick you necessarily, but just the way it's worded. So teaching kids to break down sentences and paragraphs and look at the way they're phrased to know what they're really asking you is useful for certification success, because then they can break down the question and look at what is actually being asked of them. Anytime that we can collaborate with other departments and other classes, it's beneficial to the student. Where I'm trying to teach employability skills in graphic design, if I can show that to them and show them how math is incorporated in that, or how language arts is incorporated in that, and how that's going to help them be successful in their real world future, that's more beneficial for the student, because they can apply it to real life as opposed to just sitting in the classroom.